a lot of people struggle with that because they feel selfish or they feel like they put everybody's needs before their own. And I feel like a lot of people want to make sure that everybody's needs are met before their own. And when I challenge that, it gets people to reflect like, well, I can't really take care of anybody else if I don't take care of myself first.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. Just want to take a second, of course, to thank you so very much for supporting the show. The feedback that we're getting is wonderful. I love reading through all of your feedback, so thank you very much. It's making all the difference, knowing that it's making a difference for you. Now, speaking of making a difference, I'm on the line with the wonderful Judy Skilling. How are you, Judy?
Oh, I'm fantastic, Rick. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me tonight.
It is my pleasure. Now, Judy and I are going to be talking about high performance, what it means. We're going to be talking about mindset. We're going to be talking about habits. But I think for the sake of context, Judy, we're going to need to, I guess, unwrap your life a little bit and share a little bit about your background, because I think it's very important to share what you've been up to in your professional career leading up to becoming a high performance coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd love to just take a few minutes just to share my background and especially how this field actually found me.
Mm-hmm.
So in my history, I was served in the military in the United States Navy for about 7 years. So I'm a veteran, and I was in the medical field, which I absolutely loved. Got out, got my bachelor's degree in nursing, and became an emergency room nurse. And I practiced nursing, for about 9 years. And during that time, I got married to a veteran. He was
Mm-hmm.
in the Army National Guard, got married. And within 2 years of our marriage, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer at the age of 25.
Wow.
And that just completely changed everything for me. And at the time of his diagnosis, we had a baby girl. She was 10 months at the time. And it just pretty much changed everything for me. Now I'm working as an emergency room nurse, and in the healthcare field, it's quite demanding emotionally, mentally, physically, working long shifts. And now we have a baby girl who's a toddler, almost a toddler. And now we have this cancer diagnosis, and
Mm.
everything kind of it was a lot for me. Now I'm the only one bringing in the income. And so it was really, really just challenging for me. And I had to juggle all these responsibilities. And I love my family. They're very, very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to find a way for me to spend time with my family. How can I be there for my husband to support him during his treatments? And how can I still be a mother for my daughter and things like that too? And as I was kind of just looking around, nothing really jumped out. And then one day I had this experience happen to me where I was at the hospital, working my shift, and I had my cell phone in my pocket. And we weren't supposed to have our cell phones at the time
Mm-hmm.
because it's a distraction and
Yes.
whatnot. And my phone vibrated, and I knew it was him. So I stepped out, out of like in a supply room or something where nobody could see me. And I looked at my phone, and this text from him said, I think I've passed out. I woke up on the bathroom floor, and my heart just like
Yeah.
went to my stomach, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Is he okay? And he was watching our daughter because we couldn't afford childcare, and just all these thoughts ran through my head. So I talked to my manager, and she let me go home for the day. And as I'm like hitting almost every green light to race home, I just had these thoughts, and I didn't want to be in that position again, to where I had to choose between my family and work.
Mm.
So fortunately, I got home, and I ran into the bath, to the bedroom where he was at. He was fine, but he's like, I just don't feel good. I need to go to the hospital. And here we go. We pack up our stuff, we go
Yeah.
to the hospital and go through that. And that happened time and time again. And I remember just sitting there thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. This is really hard for me. And so as I was kind of just finding something at the point of desperation for me to like, what can I do to still make an impact? Because I love helping people
Yeah.
and yet still make an income. Coaching found me. And when I understood the power of coaching and how much of a difference it can make, it clicked for me. And specifically high performance, because it definitely complemented all the training I learned in the military, the training, I had through nursing school, and it just resonated so strongly with me. And after, unfortunately, I did lose my husband to cancer. And after losing him and going through the grieving process, I really focused in on coaching and how could I use this in my own life. And I invested in myself, and I worked with a high performance coach to help navigate this grief process, but like
Hmm.
also form this new sense of self-identity. Who am I going to be now after this traumatic loss? And, who am I going to show up for now for my daughter? And, what kind of person, what kind of mother does she need me to be? So I worked with a coach and had amazing results. And I knew how powerful it was for me. So I wanted to become a coach and really have that impact with people so that they could show up better, parents and workers and colleagues and leaders, and really just make a difference. And so, so that's my passion. That's my goal now. And I specifically love working with, veteran and military entrepreneurs, not because I'm a veteran myself, but
Hmm.
because I know that this is powerful and, veterans get it and they
Yeah.
can adopt these habits and things like that so quickly. And it can make such a huge impact in such, in that kind of community. So that's how coaching found me. And I absolutely love what I do,
Yep.
and absolutely love the changes that are a result when people, take the time to work on themselves.
That's an
So
incredibly powerful
yeah.
backstory, a very emotional one, I'm sure. But I think that emotional charge that you still carry with you somewhat would, I guess, flow out onto the people that you work with. How important is it for, I guess, your military background and your experiences in the military in terms of discipline? How has that helped you, do you think, keep going day by day?
I think it definitely has built a mindset
Hmm.
of, I'm going to get through this, and it's built that resilience that developed while I was in the military. I mean, I actually just wrote an ebook about, the military skills that you develop to become a successful entrepreneur, and resilience is one of them. And when you're in the military, let's say boot camp, for example, you have to get up at a certain time and you have to do these things because you're being told to, not
Yeah.
because you have a choice. And that, doing these challenges and doing these, exercises, military exercises, builds up that resilience. And so translating it to like my life today is that's something that I fall back on because it was instilled, way back when. It just doesn't go away. The more that
Hmm.
you build on it, the better and stronger it gets.
When you're
And so
working, you're working primarily with veterans, is that correct?
yeah, veterans and entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and some military people as well too.
Yep.
Um,
Do
yeah,
do you
definitely.
find the difference between the discipline of a non-military background individual as opposed to a military person who's been trained and has that discipline? Do you find that they're a different style of person that needs different things from your coaching?
I believe that there is a contrast, and one's not better than the other. I think
Mm,
they're both equally, they have their own mindset, but in different ways. And of course, based on life experiences, whether in the military or not. But I notice that when it comes to high performance, I feel that when I've worked with veteran entrepreneurs and veteran people, they can adopt it a little bit quicker than people who have not had maybe some military background. Because, we're in the military, we're trained on discipline, we're trained on, structure, we're trained on, building resilience and strength and endurance and things like that too. And in the civilian sector, if you want to develop those types of characteristics, you have to do it by choice. You
hmm.
put yourself in those kind of situations because you see yourself wanting to achieve more and more and more. And it's by choice that you want to develop those type of characteristics as opposed by force,
Yeah.
where the military, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so there is a difference, but it's not a huge
Yeah,
noticeable difference. It's
it
the
can be
ones that
learned.
really, yeah, it can be learned. Exactly.
Fantastic. This is great feedback. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, in your bio, you talked about transitioning out of the military environment back into civilian life. What are some of the challenges that come with making that transition?
Oh my gosh, we have enough time?
Yes, absolutely.
um, I think, I got out in 2007. So, now this is about 13 years since I got out. And I think one of the challenges um, was that I had faced was I was overqualified for a majority of the jobs that I had applied to. And I was like, what? How
Overqualified.
could, how could you be overqualified for this? And
I would say
it just
ideally qualified.
exactly. I was boggled and I was like, how is this? Are these people just being nice and
Is this a
rejecting me in a
thing?
nice way? So it was so frustrating because, in the military, I was, trained as an EMT. I taught EMT classes. I had all these certifications and, I was on resume like an all-star type of applicant. And so when I would go to these job interviews and they would see what I had to offer, and they're like, sorry, you're just a little too much from what we need right now.
Wow.
Like, oh, okay. Thanks, I think. So it's just, you
Backhand
know,
compliment?
how do I even take this? And I remember I was on, I don't know, mine was like my sixth or seventh job interview. At this point, I was just getting so frustrated. And I was in this job interview to be a emergency room technician, to kind of, help in the emergency room. And the guy who interviewed me, he's like, okay, well, thanks for your time. And I'll reach out to you. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Um, Let me ask you, why would you not hire me? And I was
Put it out
bold
there.
and I asked him, I was like, why would you not hire me? And he's like, okay, well then you're hired.
Ah?
So, I think I was just getting so frustrated at that point. And I feel that like the military trains you so well and so
Hmm.
much in a lot of things that when you make the transition into the civilian workforce, you have to start to assimilate. You know, People might not get your type of work ethic, because in the military you show up on time and you're disciplined and you're structured and you show up 15 minutes early and you develop this mentality and this lifestyle that is not well received in the civilian workforce. And I think, nothing against civilians or military, but I think that's one of the things that I've come across is like, what is the most frustrating thing that you've experienced? And a majority of them are just like civilians. I don't want to work. I
Well,
don't want to work with
they're
civilians.
of a different cut, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just it could be leadership, or it could just be temperaments or personalities, or you know, um, you. I had a really hard time adjusting because when you are serving, you just have what I call automatic friends, people who know that you're new to a duty station, and new to the area, and people extend out their hand and they're like, hey, let me just show you around and take you under their wing, and they're more welcoming because you're new and you just don't really know. And I call that automatic friends,
Yeah.
just because they're just there to help you and support you. When I got out, I felt like I should have these automatic friends, but these are complete strangers who want nothing to do with me. So it was
Hmm.
just really hard to make friends even after leaving the service, just because it was just, I'm on my own. Like I don't know anybody. And it was just really hard to kind of just make friends again and to build that community of support. And
Yeah,
so
and
I
you
think
seem to
that's
be providing that automatic friend for other veterans now through your coaching.
exactly, yeah. And to be that cheerleader and to be like, oh my gosh, you're doing amazing, great job. And to really just, be that cheerleader for somebody who doesn't really have many cheerleaders in their life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we all could use a cheerleader,
Oh, here, here, absolutely. I'd
Yeah.
rather take more than less, that's for sure.
Exactly. Just to make sure that we're doing what we need to do, and to make sure that we're staying on track, and to celebrate, our wins and pick us up when we're down kind of
Thank
thing.
you. I'm thinking about this. I know that the focus is on high performance, and I think about what you've shared about the military service that you've experienced in terms of discipline and all that sort of stuff. But I wonder, from a stress perspective, in your time as an emergency nurse, how has that played a part in your life going forward?
Oh man.
How do you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, during that time of being, you know, um, next to my late husband's side, that
Hmm.
was incredibly stressful. That was a 5-year battle, a cancer battle. And, honestly, the thing that really got me through every single day was just like, let me just get through today. Let me just get through today. And it was like I was on survival mode for
Hmm.
those 5 years. And it was just like, well, let me just focus on what I need to get done today. I don't need to worry about next week. I don't need to worry about Christmas or the holidays, or I don't need to worry about what's going on 6 months from now. It's just like, let me just get
Do
through
today.
today, and
Yeah.
let me just get through today. And that helped every single day. And working in an emergency room setting, I loved it. It is an adrenaline junkies playground
Yes,
if you're into
playground.
medicine. And it is just, when you got people coming in with car wrecks and heart attacks and strokes, and you're juggling all this different stuff. I thrived on it and I loved it. And I was
Hmm.
able to, uh, manage myself better during those types of stressful environments. And I think that definitely helped translate into my personal life when I had to deal with, a husband being sick and dealing with, little one, taking care of her, and dealing with the life stressors, because I was able to just bleed that skill set of stress management from the emergency room nursing into my personal life and be like, okay, well, let's get this done.
This
I
is
don't have
it.
time to complain. Let's
That's
get
it.
this done. And I think that's kind of what the military trains me. Like, let's get this done. Like, we're not messing about.
Yeah, absolutely.
you
Do you
know?
find that there's a time for all of these discipline, responsibility things as opposed to another side of duty in terms of relaxation? Do you find that you're able to switch off sometimes?
Yeah, and I think it's important, because it wasn't until I got into coaching when I valued that time of self-care
Hmm.
more now than I had before. Because, like I said, I was on survival mode. There was no time for self-care for Judy. It was caring for daughter. It was caring for husband. It was caring for patients. Very little time was for, Judy's self-care.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got into coaching that I understood how powerful and how important self-care is. And now I make it an intention and a purpose to be like, okay, my self-care is, I'm going to read a book. That's a way for me to kind of recharge and calm down. And that's my form of self-care, and making sure that I pay attention to my needs so that I can, best perform and best be there for everybody else and bring my best version of myself. And I
Absolutely.
think a lot of people struggle with that because they feel selfish, or they feel like they put everybody's needs before their own. And I feel like a lot of people do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to make sure that everybody's needs are met before their own. And when I challenge that, um, it gets people to reflect like, well, I can't really take care of anybody else if I don't take care of myself first. I think you've heard of
Mm.
the analogy, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
It's the same kind of concept. And so I encourage that with my clients. Like, you're not selfish if you take time for yourself,
You have to look after
that
yourself before you can look after others. Is that not true?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you
And
talk about habits. We talked about, improvement, self improvement. I think is probably a really good one that I guess encapsulates most of what we're talking about. I'm wondering if we can go back one step, Judy, and define what high performance means to you.
yeah, of course. And high performance to me, I've always saw myself as a high performer. I've always saw myself of like, I want to achieve great things.
Hmm.
Do a lot of really great things. And what, for the longest time, I knew people who were, these people who are highly successful, they make, they're celebrities or professional athletes or whatever.
Yep.
And I was just like, how do they do that? Like, how come I can't do that? I don't have any special athletic abilities or any,
Yep.
skill set in terms of singing and dancing, but like people who make really great money in businesses, or people who just have this way about them. Like, how do you do that? I want to do that. And so, to me, it's like high performance is like attaining that lifestyle, but you're also living a life of happiness, and your relationships are good, and they're happy and they're thriving, and you have time for your friends and your family, and you have time for yourself. And you also are able to share your life's work, the content that you're creating, or your skill set, or your natural born gifts and talents with the world, and be like spiritually aligned. And this kind of goes into that spiritual sense, but just
Hmm.
really living from your true authentic self. and enjoying life living as that person. And to me, that's high performance. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter if I make millions of dollars a year. I wouldn't object to that, but it's just more so of like,
Me
it's
neither.
just more, I know, I don't think anybody would, but I think it's just more about of like living with my true authentic self and
Hmm.
being able to share my gifts and talents with the world, as well as having, fun filled and loving relationships
That's wonderful
and living a
feedback.
life of, yeah, joy.
And I sit here and I think to myself, surely in amongst all of this, when people come and work with you, Judy, that you talk about goal setting. How important goal setting is this in this environment?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly it's incredibly valuable, and it is important. And I just wanted to it's when we set goals, it's like, okay, I want to make X amount of money, or I want to lose X amount of pounds, or, I want to improve my relationship or whatever. And I know that you probably have heard it's the journey that makes us the person, not so much of the goal at the end.
Hmm.
And whenever I work with a client and we're like, okay, we've set this goal, let's reverse engineer it, and we do the practical things behind it. But it's also, as I'm working with them and achieving this goal, that we address certain things that might come up that we didn't anticipate. Okay, well, how do we work through this? And, you know, um, if you were to tap into your future self, what would your future self say to you in this kind of situation? And we use different techniques and strategies to get somebody to grow into who they need to become in order to achieve that goal. Because if it's an easy goal, you would have already done it by now.
Yeah.
Most of the time that when people goal set, it's something that's a, beyond what they've ever accomplished. And you're growing into that person that you need to be in order to achieve that goal. And it is important in order for you to, you know, shed that old skin and
And
grow a
grow
new one,
out.
so to speak. Yeah.
Do you find that this work that you do with your clients draws out emotions, opens them up?
Yeah, and even I'm very empathetic,
Hmm.
and I love this work because it is on a spiritual sense, it is where I can really just sit and I listen and I can connect with somebody, and all of my calls are through Zoom, and I can see them and I can read them, and sometimes um, I've not intentionally, but sometimes my clients have cried,
Hmm.
only just because of a question I might have asked them that really just struck a sensitive
Touches a
area.
nerve.
It touches a nerve, and it gets them to be like, whoa, I didn't I didn't think about this. And and I have to hold back tears because I'm just like, I want to cry with you, but I can't, but I can't, but I can't, I have to maintain composure. But my heart is just like breaking because I can feel their emotional epiphanies,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and I feel, and I,
It's in one sense it'd be a
wow.
wonderful, empowering experience. Another one's quite confronting for that person. Um, is this can this be a fairly quick process for somebody to become a high performance achiever, or is it a long term relationship that you have with the people that you work with?
So usually this is I work with clients anywhere between, 3 months, 6 months to even a year.
Hmm.
Because it does take work to break old habits and to build new habits, and it takes a process, and it's through repeated, consistent actions that you're able to start to build to that point of becoming a high performer. It's with the consistency. Okay, we're talking once
Repetition.
a week. It's a repetition. It's building those new skill sets. It's building those new habits, which doesn't happen overnight. You and I both know, because
Yes,
if it did, everybody would do
I
it.
would do it.
So everybody would do it. So it's a labor of love. That's what I would love to say. It's a
I,
labor of love in order for you to like get to that point. And when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, that was like 3 months, but it felt like it was years ago. Like I don't even
yeah.
recognize that person, because you've changed so much in such a short amount of time. But when you think about it, you're like 3 months. That's more than enough time.
It flies
And
by though.
oh my gosh, you have no idea, Rick.
I'm sure that also as a byproduct of your wonderful work that you've forged some pretty strong friendships along the way.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's it's humbling,
Mm.
because I love doing this work. I don't really, I don't expect my clients to have huge transformations. I come to serve, I come to give, I give everything I have during our sessions, and I'm here for them. And the impact that the clients make um, is just, it's awe-inspiring, it's humbling because the actions that they chose to take after our sessions is what makes the biggest difference, in their lives, because they'll never be the same person again. And because of that, I have formed really great friendships because of how powerful our coaching relationship has been. And then we end up being friends after the fact,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, it's very unique,
And
isn't
just,
it?
yeah. Just to hear the feedback of and hear the results of previous clients, it's just like, I knew you could do it.
Yeah,
You just didn't have
fantastic.
faith in you. And I had faith in you.
Well, you got to
Um,
pat yourself on the back because you've had to work to get to this point. It doesn't just happen overnight. Now,
oh
I
yeah.
wonder, Judy, if we could actually talk through the mechanics of your coaching program, and things like where people are going to find you, and what exactly is the process that you take them through when they do connect with you.
Yeah. So coaching's not for everyone. I just want to share that first
Mm.
and foremost. And, I would love to coach everybody on the planet, but I know that um, I wouldn't have the bandwidth. But I think, coaching's not for everybody, especially this type of coaching. And when I had worked with somebody who I had offered, I was like, hey, I'd love to do this session if you're open for it. And she was completely agree. But when she heard what I did, she herself didn't think that she was a high performer, because she was like, well, I don't see myself as that kind of person. But we worked together. And even if she didn't think that she was a high performer, I still helped, her develop some tools and techniques so that she can just implement it in her life. And if I served in that way, then so be it.
Yeah.
Um, but so, if somebody was to go to my website, they would, of course, book a call with me. We would just talk to see kind of, you know, um, if coaching is right for them. And if it's not, that's fine. I can, if I could serve them in some other way, I can divert them to somebody else. Or if they feel that coaching is something that's for them and they're interested in what it looks like to work with me, then we can talk about that. But I usually just like to spend some time to talk to somebody to really get to know them and see where they are at, in this phase of their life and what it is that they're wanting to achieve and what got them to seek out coaching in the first place.
Mm.
Because everybody has a reason
Yeah, of
to
course.
see if, to see if we're a good fit. Because I don't work well with everybody and people don't work well with me.
So, Judy, in that
So,
preliminary phase, what are some of the things you like to tease out, just to give the listeners a bit of context as to what they can expect if they try to make contact with you?
yeah, no. So I love to listen. So usually that time when we're on the phone together, it's me just listening to them.
Yeah.
I listen to, um, where they're at right now in their phase of their life. If they have, the logistic stuff. Are they married? Do they have kids? What kind of job are they? Are they an entrepreneur? Do they work in an organization? And things like that too. And then really kind of just dig a little bit deep of like, um, what provoked you to find me or to be interested in coaching. And then even digging a little bit deeper, right, then it's just like, okay, what is it right now that is making you really happy? And what is it that's not making you happy? And,
Hmm.
how do you feel about your health even? And how do you feel about, what kind of thoughts are you having? And we really kind of just dig a little bit deep and really just have these powerful conversations. And, if they wanted to experiment or sample my coaching, I offer like, a 3-hour coaching and we really go really, really deep. We go into what they're clear about in their life right now. We go into like, where are they productive in certain areas of their life? Do they feel like they have an overall purpose?
Yeah.
And we start to really look at those big types of conversational points.
That's a big one, isn't it? Having a purpose
Yeah.
and a direction.
Yeah. And I think most of us are just stuck in this hamster wheel, so
Oh,
to
yeah.
speak. you
Well,
know?
this is some great insights into your services, and obviously, with your background and your skill set, you have a very structured approach to offering high performance coaching. So, most importantly, Judy, so that people can start this process, where are they going to go to find you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So they would just go to my website, which is www.judys, judyskilling.com. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple one.
Yeah, pretty simple. I like to keep it simple for for people. So they would just head to my website, and there's a call to action that if you wanted to learn more, you just click the button, and we set up a time to chat, and we go from there.
And away you go. Well, look, everybody who's on the call today, this has been a wonderful call about upskilling and high performance and how you can get involved with Judy. And as is normally the case, I'm going to be making a link back to Judy so you can start having a conversation with her. Make sure you reach out to her and press that call to action. And in closing, Judy, I just have to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. It was an honor and a pleasure, and this was absolutely amazing.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.